Hello everybody. In this video, we are going to talk about the transport layer congestion control. So, when you have a number of transport entities sending data too fast to the network, then you get congestion. Say for example, you have this is a router, okay, and this router is connected to multiple sources, okay, and all these sources are sending data to this router because it connects them to other destinations. So there will be a kind of a congestion at this router. Now, usually the work of the congestion control is a work which is done together by the network layer as well as the transport layer. So network layer and transport layer both are responsible for congestion control. Okay, and but it is detected by the network layer. Now, once network layer detects that there are packet drops, and as a result of packet drops, what happens? The performance of this whole system degrades. So when packets are lost, the transport layer, to maintain reliability, will have to retransmit, so that degrades the performance. There will be delays, okay, and so there has to be some way by which this congestion has to be controlled. And the most effective way to control this congestion is for the transport entities to send less data. So once the transport layer entities, they slow down in the data rate, in the sending rate, then we can have the congestion will be greatly reduced. Now we may have something like avoiding congestion. So you may have congestion avoidance, and there is congestion control. So for congestion avoidance, okay, it would be helpful if we can predict what is the optimum bandwidth that will be required for different flows in a network. But then if I can say that for this particular flow, for say this a particular flow between this A and B, okay, if I say for this flow, this is the X is the optimal bandwidth that will be required. And if I give this bandwidth, then there won't be any congestion. Now, if in a standalone network, it is not, or in a centralized system, it is not so much of a problem. It is possible to predict. But in case of a distributed network, okay, like what we have, this is not always a feasible option. So we will have to stick to the regulation of the sending rate based on the network scenario. So if the network says that there is congestion, then the sender must regulate the sending rate. And this has to be dynamically done because the network condition or the network scenario keeps changing from different times. Sometimes there is more traffic, sometimes there is less traffic. So your sending rate should be the minimum of the network rate, okay, and the receiver rate. So in the flow control, we had talked about the regulating the sender rate and the receiver rate, okay, to achieve flow control. Now here, the sending rate, we see that it is also dependent on the network rate, how much the network can handle. So with this, let's see what are the goals of a good congestion control algorithm. So now we are sure that we need congestion control, but then what are the properties that a congestion control algorithm should have? So first of all is your congestion avoidance. Definitely you try to avoid a situation which can lead to a congestion, and you would want that there is proper allocation of bandwidth to the transport entity. Okay, so proper allocation of bandwidth, what will it do? First of all, if the bandwidth utilization is high, then the performance of the whole system increases. It improves a lot. Okay, so if you have a given bandwidth, and you are making full utilization of this without having a congestion, then the utilization is the performance improves. Also, another property that a good congestion control algorithm should have is that it should be fair across all competing entities. Means there will be several entities who may be uh, competing for a particular link. So this link is being catered to is catering to the needs of all three, say A, B, and C. Okay, so the allocation also when all three are using a particular link, it has to be divided properly. The bandwidth has to be shared between A, B, and C, and this allocation has to be fair across A, B, and C. Also, the third property that a congestion control algorithm should have is that it should be able to track changes in the traffic demand. So it should know that now traffic is high and now traffic is low. And accordingly, it should regulate the sending rate. Okay. So what we have seen is that congestion can occur in the network. Okay. And it is not possible to predict how much bandwidth will be required for different flows. Okay, so the best scenario is to regulate, is to observe and regulate the sending rate. So what the sender is sending, and this has to be a minimum of the network rate and the receiver rate. So coming with this, we saw that the three properties that a good congestion control algorithm should have is that it should improve performance with high bandwidth utilization, it should be fair, and it should be dynamic. Okay, so so next we shall look at some of the things which will with which we can explain how this is going to happen. So first is efficiency and power. So for this we have to understand a term called the good put. So good put is the number of useful packets received at the receiver. So number of useful packets received at the receiver. What it means is that now all the packets that are received at the receiver are not useful because some of these will be retransmissions. Okay, some of these will be duplicates. Some of these will be damaged. So when we have the number of useful packets, the packets which actually are used, that is the good. That is what we call the good put. And the good put is a function of the offered load. So if we give a particular, if we have a particular bandwidth, if we assign a particular bandwidth, then it as the good put will increase with the load. But this is not always true, as we can see from this diagram. So here we can see this is the offered load, that is how many packets per second it can send, and this is the good put. Okay, so you can see this dashed line as the offered load increases. So here the offered load increases, so the good put is increasing. Okay, but now after a particular point, you see that this is, even though you're increasing the load, the good put decreases very rapidly. Okay, it decreases very rapidly. And why is that so? That is because this is where, at this point, this is where the congestion has occurred. So when congestion occurs, then what happens? You have you have bursty traffic, and then which causes congestion, and the transport layer may be retransmitting the delayed packets. So packets will be delayed. Because there is congestion, packets will be delayed, and because of delays, the timers will time out, and then the sender will retransmit the packet. So that is only going to these are all going to add to the congestion. So this results in very less actual work being done. That is why the good put decreases drastically. The same happens for delay also. So initially, in the beginning, this side we have offered load, and this side we have the delay. So initially, the delay is almost constant, okay, which is the round trip time, and then suddenly you see, once congestion starts, the delay goes up drastically. The delay goes up drastically, okay, as it reaches the maximum capacity. Here in the first diagram also, you can see as it reaches the capacity, that as the capacity of the link is reached, okay, that is when congestion occurs, and then the good put collapse happens. Similarly, here also, as it approaches the capacity, this is the capacity. So as it approaches the capacity, congestion occurs, and then the delay increases. So packets will be dropped. As a result of this delay, what will happen? Packets will be dropped from the network buffers, from the network, at the routers, the packets will start dropping. So we can represent this by using this formula. Power is what? Load by delay. So as the load increases, the delay, and the delay is small, okay, the power will increase. Okay, so you have small load, you have a small delay, and you have load is increasing. So as a result, what happens? The power will go up. As you're increasing the load, the power will go up. But as capacity is reached, the power starts falling. As what happens? The delay increases. So delay, as you reach the capacity, the delay will increase. So power, which is a function of this, will decrease. So as load increases and delay is small, power increases, and as capacity is reached, power starts falling as your delay increases. So what can be our best performance? What can be the best performance? What can we say that this is the best load we can say, we can use? So that we get as the load with the highest power. So using our formula, that is power is load by delay. Okay. So the load with the whatever load we get, and then this gives us the best power, that could be the load which we can assign. Now, how do we know that this is the best? So we just keep on allocating bandwidth just until delay starts increasing. So you send a packet, you keep the time. Okay, so you measure the delay. So when you find, and also you keep on allocating, increasing the load. So the moment you realize that the delay is going up, the delay time is going up, that is when you know that this is when you have to stop allocation of the bandwidth, and this gives you the best possible load that you can assign to a particular link. So this is the same, you can see from here. So basically, this is the load. This is the load. This is the load, like where, which you can say that, okay, this would be a good load. So now, so that is about your load, giving the which will give you the best performance. Next is fairness. Okay, all transport, that is the bandwidth, if it is shared among multiple transport entities, and then each of these should get a fair share of the bandwidth. So the rate of all flows are handled in a fair manner, and if this is not done, then some of the flows may get starved. Okay, you only increase for one flow and then you don't increase for the others. That will result in one flow getting starved. So just think of a junction, traffic junction. You have roads from all sides. Now, if the traffic policeman only allows this direction flow to go on and on and on, okay, and just say it gives 10 minutes for this, and only for this flow it gives only 1 minute. In that case, this flow will get starved. So it says that the flow must be, the capacity must be shared between the transport entities, and it must be fair. So there is a particular way in which we can use this, and this is known as the max mean fairness. So the max mean fairness, it tells us how to divide the bandwidth among multiple entities. So suppose I have something like this. Okay, this is a very common network representation which is here. So you see this link is being used by all these different flows. Okay, so there is a high chance that there will be congestion out here. So we should make sure that the allocation from all sides, all flows here should be fair. And for that, we follow a min-max fairness procedure. So it says that an allocation is min-max fair if the bandwidth allocation for one flow cannot be increased without decreasing the bandwidth allocation for another flow. Okay, so if I increase, so it means that if the bandwidth for one flow is increased, if I increase the bandwidth for, say, let me use a different color. So if I increase the bandwidth allocated for this flow, okay, if I increase, then I will have to decrease the bandwidth allocation for this other flow. Okay, without it, I cannot have it without decreasing the bandwidth allocation for another flow. So let's see this example. So here, so now in general, if I have n different flows, okay, I have n different flows along a link that share. So one link is being shared by n entities like this, 1, 2, 3 up to n. Okay. So in that case, everyone will get 1 by n bandwidth capacity. Okay. So here you see in this diagram, this link is being shared by B, C, and D. So it is shared by 3. So each of them, they are getting 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Okay. This link is being used by B. This is used by B. Okay. And this is used by B. So you see this green colored line is for B. So B is 1/3 here. So 1/3 is flowing this side. And again, 1/3 is flowing here. Okay. Similarly, C, 1/3 is flowing from here. C is going to, so 1/3, let me use a different color. Just bear with me. B is here, and here. C is here, so C is getting 1/3, and it is getting 1/3 here. Okay. And for D, I have again this here 1/3. Okay. So here you see the full capacity is divided among 3. If I assume that the capacity of each link is 1. Okay. Here you see, if you look at this, this is only 2/3. 2/3 is being used. 1/3 is being left as it is. 1/3 is not being used. Okay. Similarly, here 2/3 is being used by A. This is only A is using, so it is using 2/3 of it, and 2/3 is here, and the remaining 1/3 is being given to B. Okay. Now here in this link, let's say I want to increase the share of B. Okay, B has less, so I want to increase the share of B. So if I want to increase the share of B, then I will have to reduce first A. So if I increase B, I'll have to reduce or decrease A, which is fine because A is getting more than what B is getting. Okay, fine. So I have to change here. I have to change here. But it also means that if I increase here, if I make this 2/3, I make this 1/3. Okay, so this will also become 1/3. Okay, and this is, since this is 2/3, I have to make this also 2/3. No problem here because this B is using on this link alone. But the problem will happen here because if I make this 2/3, then if I make B's value 2/3, then I have to decrease first. I have to decrease for C and D. So both C and D will have to be decreased if I want to give more to A. So this is where the bottleneck is. This is where the bottleneck is. So I cannot increase. I just cannot increase the value, the capacity for B here without decreasing somewhere else. Okay, so this is the min max fairness, the min max fairness criteria. Okay. Now, any good congestion algorithm, it has to converge quickly to a fair and efficient allocation. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to allocate bandwidth so that it is efficient and it is fair. Okay. Now, and why are we doing that? We are doing that to control congestion. Okay. So how are we doing that? We are doing that by trying out different rates. Okay. And then trying to see how this is going to converge. So in the next video, we are going to look at the convergence of the congestion control algorithm to a fair and efficient allocation.